Brent, my friend, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy developer down there, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us. I thought of you because I trust you, and I want to get your opinion on what's going on. Let's start with the soldier in the Knesset recently talking about he received orders to pull off the border prior to the October 7th. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously the timing and the circumstance and the outcome would lead you in a couple of different directions. One would be a conspiracy of, leadership in Israel trying to create a situation where, they could go to war with Gaza, preserve their government, and it's almost inconceivable to me that the conspiracy could go that high, all the way down to generals in the field. The other possibility is unfortunate circumstance that the day that they chose to tell everyone to stand down, which was Simchat Torah, which is a pretty big holiday. That was one of the reasons why, if you remember, they had a lot of forces that were either deployed to the West Bank, assuming there would be some sort of activity in the West Bank against the settlements. And then, the other part would be the government has a lot of religious members in the actual higher part of the ministry of, the internal security and so on. We're all, religious characters. So they may have had some influence to say, look, we'd like this holiday to be, observed to the maximum we could. Don't go down there and cause, just don't go cause trouble today. There's no point to stirring stuff up. So, I mean, I think those are the two choices you have at this point. It is disturbing, though.
Well, let me ask you this. Obviously, Israel's in a major war on multiple fronts. A lot of kids have died, Israeli soldiers, men and women, been hurt. What are the people thinking right now? I mean, Joe Bag of Donuts on the ground in Israel. What are they thinking?
Well, again, I think that on one hand, you have a large majority of people that would say, let's get the hostages home. And I don't want to say at all costs, but they were willing to pay a heavy price to make that happen. The unfortunate part is they're helping Hamas play into that international sympathy where let's end the war right now, no matter what, leave Hamas in power. And then Hamas does, Charlie Brown with the football. They go to negotiations in Qatar and then at the last minute go, never mind.
Yeah. What is, you mentioned Hamas. They have a long history, and you and I have talked about this for years. They call it, what do they call it?
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Like, so you have bodies under sheets, and all of a sudden they start moving. Are we done yet? That kind of stuff. So they're very good at that propaganda.
Absolutely.
But what is happening there? I think Israel's losing the PR war right now.
Absolutely.
I think that's just a fact.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah, they played the game wrong here. They should have. They should never have brought up food aid. They should never respond to claims of food aid issues. They should point the finger back at Hamas for starting this war. They should continue to play. Hey, you could end the war any day now. All you have to do is surrender. Israel has. I don't know why they keep falling into this. Every time they seem to fall into this kind of thing, and the facts are that they're pulling images from the Syrian civil war, from the famine in Yemen, from they're using the same doll 10 times with some guy holding this dead baby, which is not when they examine it. They found kids who have genetic diseases like cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and so on, and they're, and those are kids who have been treated in Israel prior to the war, and they go, oh, look, they're starving, and then you go out of frame of that picture, and here's his brother sitting on the side, and he looks like he's pretty, well fed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's and in fact, the U.S. has fallen into that trap. The GHF guys have been accused of shooting civilians, unprovoked, and then there's video evidence of that not happening.
So that's the humanitarian NGO that has Americans involved on the ground to deliver food, because they were trying to take that away from the UN, because the UN was complicit in some of the other stuff with Hamas.
Well, and the other thing is, UN just drives a truck in and goes, here you go, and Hamas, shoots them up, takes the trucks and drives off. Or there's a feeding frenzy, which is completely uncontrolled, and ends up in injuries and deaths. So that's the UN approach, and then you have these PR stunts where the Egyptians or the Jordanians fly one airplane over, drop a couple of tons of supplies in via parachute. Same result. They drop them in the wrong place. The amount of aid that's actually been dropped is a fraction, maybe 2 trucks worth. 2 well-defended trucks from GHF drive in and hand it out in an orderly fashion is infinitely more effective. But again, Israel keeps falling into these traps. And I'll tell you, I've run into people who are MAGA who will tell me that Israel is shooting civilians and they're killing kids, and I'm like, I can't. I mean, these are people that I think you and I would align with pretty closely, and the reason that is being fed to them is guys like Tucker or Candace Owens, who have suddenly turned. I don't know where they're going with their message. It's certainly off base from where I'm at.
Well, let's talk. What is the goal? What does Israel want to do here? Do you have any idea? Because I think that's part of the problem, is because what is the objective?
Yeah, I mean, the objective has been the same since day one: get rid of Hamas. And I think that they had hoped that international pressure would end the war and force Hamas to leave. The problem is that Hamas is a death cult. One of their leaders once said, "We love death more than the Jews love life," and that's a powerful message. Not only are they willing to sacrifice, they hope to sacrifice every man, woman, and child in Gaza, with the end result being that Israel is a pariah state, and so they have no intention of surrendering. And Steve Witkoff came away from recent meetings, and Trump's tweeted similar messages that Hamas has no intention of surrender. And so now the last area that hasn't ever been attacked is probably where the hostages are. And so the risk of ending up either killing by accident or Hamas murdering them is to taking that last piece of Gaza.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Gaza. So it's a no-win, but again, I go back and I say, let's examine this in historical perspective. What did we do to Berlin? The Soviets and the American and British forces just completely devastated Berlin in an attempt to get to the German high command, to get to Hitler. And we killed 6 million civilians, German civilians, during the war. Intentionally or unintentionally, doesn't matter. It's just the part of war that we can't. I mean, in a built-up area, you just can't get around. We did the same thing as U.S. forces did that in Fallujah and Mosul and other places where I don't want to call it indiscriminate killing, but if you're going to win a battle, you can't play, picking them off one at a time. And Hamas
Let
has
me
set
ask
up
you,
all this
yeah,
intentionally to kill civilians.
what do you have any idea the force structure Hamas has left on the ground? I've heard it's anywhere from 20 to 40,000 people in the tunnels that are armed. Do you have any idea?
I don't remember recent numbers, but I don't think that they have that kind of force left, and they certainly aren't in an organized force. And every time they appoint a new leader, that new leader gets killed. So you can have all the forces in the world you want. The Germans surrendered in World War II with millions of men under arms, but the high command said, enough, we're out. So that's, they don't have any leadership left. I think, and obviously it's a whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
You kill one and then somebody comes up, but eventually you run out of commanders, and they've run out of commanders and they've run out of territory. The last thing they have is their own civilian hostages and Israeli hostages that remain. That's the only thing they have left.
I read that they're going to try to take more Israeli hostages because that's a currency, right? I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that's possible at all?
Yeah. I've seen video, and again, I don't. We're not army guys, but I've always heard you don't have armor without infantry. And in a lot of cases, you see armored vehicles, tanks included, that are rolling around Gaza without guys, without soldiers around them. And in a couple of cases, Hamas threw grenades inside and killed everybody. They tried to take a guy off a D9 that was I don't know if he was taking down buildings that were collapsing or if they were clearing something, but they ended up trying to take a guy that was on a D9 and ended up killing him. So I think they would, given the right opportunity to pop out of a hole and grab somebody, they certainly would.
Yeah.
But they can't have been very successful at it because they've not grabbed anybody since October 7th, and Israel's had tens of thousands of soldiers roaming around in Gaza since then.
What do they want with Gaza and the West Bank, for that matter? I mean, Ben-Gvir says we're going to annex it all. The Knesset voted that way. I don't know what the legal procedure is, but what do you think?
So the annexation is to allow the application of Israeli law within the territory. So the city like Ariel, I believe, is still under military governance. So by extending Israeli law, then they would apply the law as anybody there would be applied as if they were a citizen or a resident of Israel. So I think that's the reason why they annexed more than anything, was just to get rid of the military governing body. And then Ben-Gvir, I think there's certain elements within Israel that would love to take the West Bank and kick everybody out, or take Gaza and kick them all out. I think that's a fringe. I think most Israelis would say, some form of autonomy. They've offered them states numerous times with land swaps that would allow 99% of the land of Gaza and the West Bank to be in a Palestinian state. They fall down on the demilitarized state. They want their own army. Again, how do you trust somebody whose sole mission is to kill Jews to eradicate the state of Israel. I don't know how you allow a state like that to be formed.
Yeah.
In the 60s and 70s, after Israel conquered the West Bank, and again, they conquered it out of a defensive war in Gaza as well, and had asked Jordan not to enter the war. And Jordan thought, well, it sounds like we're winning. Let's jump in and grab some territory. And they did. And Israel, ended up defeating them in the field and recaptured East Jerusalem and reunified the city. So all those things happened. After that, most of the Arabs that lived in these villages were pretty satisfied. As long as you leave us alone, we leave you alone. We'll go about our business. And in fact, there was a very powerful tribal leader in the West Bank who more or less said, the PA has failed us. We're willing to lay down our arms. We're willing to do business with Israel. And I think if there were more people like that, but they're still led by the same corrupt PLO leaders that inherited it from Arafat.
Mm-hmm.
When was
What
the
do you
last
think?
election they had? 20, 15 years ago?
Yeah. Interesting. Well, what else do you want to get out, Brent? I just wanted to get you on and let you just kind of get out what needs to get out. So is there anything else that needs to be said?
No, I would encourage everyone to read a little bit more deeply into the things that they see in the press. Mm-hmm. The BBC, the New York Times, all of these guys are pushing a message, and the message is very anti-Israel, and they're falling for the quote, Gaza health ministry. Who's the Gaza health ministry? It's Hamas. Mm-hmm. There is no Gaza health ministry. It's whatever they decide they're pushing out. So I would really, really encourage people to do a little bit more investigating and quit reading little Instagram, 1 minute post about some poor Palestinian that was killed. It's tragic that any single life is been killed in this war. But Hamas brought it upon themselves, and I've seen recent videos. There's an Israeli journalist who went into that last area of Gaza that was still functioning. And by the way, there were markets, people selling fruit and fish and whatever. It's super expensive, but there's food. And that guy interviewed these people, and they were cursing Hamas for the attack. That they said, if we could leave, if they would open up the gates. By the way, Egypt has closed their border with them. They could leave from there. They said, if we could leave, we would never come back. They cursed the day they were born in Gaza. So it's not Israel against Palestinians. This is Israel against Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. And anybody who is signing up to support this war against Israel is supporting the very things that they claim to be against: fascism. It's a fascist Islamist state that is intent on one thing, and that's killing the idea of the West.
Brent, thank you very much. I'll let you go back to work down
Appreciate
in Atlanta. All right, take care, my friend. We'll have you back. Bye.
Thank you.